Hello everyone. My name is Zainab, and I welcome you all to the third session of Meet Up with the Experts. And today I have with us one of our very special guests, Mr. Anchit Oswal. We welcome you, sir. Uh,
Thank you.
Sir is a partner at one of the India's leading law firm, Khaitan and Company, and he has an experience of advising his clients across various laws and before multiple forums. And he is a pass out of National Law University of Bhopal. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be on the show, Zainab. Thank you so much for having me here.
So, sir, could you tell us about your journey in the field of law and what has been your success mantra for being in this field?
Yeah, sure. After my 12th class, I was, as any other student, I was in two minds on what stream to take
Mhm,
and which way to go. But I had one thing very clear in my mind that I want to take up a line which enables me as an independent professional. And there, my dad played a very important role. He had heard about this institute in MP, which is the NLI Bhopal, right?
mhm,
And he nudged me to take this up. Initially, I was not very convinced. I was not sure, what to expect. What kind of life will lawyers have? I had those doubts, but then I met my senior, who was in the final year in the law school back then.
mhm,
I had a very frank discussion with him. I got a fair picture of what the law school would be like, what subjects are being taught, how much dedication, what kind of attitude is required to excel
mhm,
in the law school. And then I decided that yes, this something looks exciting, and the decision was forged very strongly when I visited the campus. I just fell in love with the campus, and I thought this is the place that I want to study. And that's how I decided to appear for the entrance exams, and then got into NLI Bhopal.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, sir, what has been your success mantra to be in this field, and what has that been that something that has kept you going all this while in this particular field?
Right. So it's been 10 years, fair amount of sort of experience there. Uh, Success mantra, I would say, is a continuous effort of loving the law. You cannot, in my view, excel in law unless you have some inclination towards law. Now when I say that, it just to generalize it for our students, when I say love for law, it's mean when you read anything pertaining to social sciences, anything pertaining to law per se, like for example, if you are interested to know the relationship between state and individuals, and if that's something which drives you, that is what has sort of kept me going, is that I really enjoy reading law as a subject.
Mhm,
And also, over the period, the effort which goes into reading and implementing. So reading is of course the one part. You
mhm,
read the law, and when you see the implementation of that law in code of laws, like you've drafted a petition, you have researched the law, the petition is ready, the petition is drafted,
mhm,
and when you see the outcome,
mhm,
so the outcome is many a times not a final outcome, right? It is interim stage, because of a life of a case is pretty long in India, as you would
indeed.
appreciate,
Mhm,
right? So that is what get me going. And apart from that, I would give a huge amount of credit to my seniors uh, in the initial years, who took pains to sit down with me, make me understand the intricacies, help me better in drafting, how to manage court, how to appear. So all those opportunities early on, because I was very lucky in my initial years at Khaitan, where we had a very open system where we got opportunities ourselves to appear in court of law. So these were small matters like consumer matters,
mhm,
but that really thrilled me. When you stand in a court of law, even a consumer forum, the kind of pressure that you have, that really excited me. That and it happened. I was very lucky that it happened in my initial years,
mhm.
and then I just fell in love that this is what I want to do, and I continued my study.
Okay, that's amazing. So, sir, now that we've discussed that what, like, what should be the success mantra, or what should be the a few, factors that one should keep in mind before taking in law, would you like to elucidate a bit as to before choosing law as a subject? Like, what are the major things that one should be very clear of before opting for this subject, and one should be really be ready for facing these particular things? What are those
Yeah,
particular factors? Yes, if you could list it for us.
yeah, sure. So any student who is in school right now and who is planning to venture into law, I can, to my limited experience as a litigating lawyer in a law firm,
Mm-hmm.
I can list out a few yardsticks which the student can sort of employ to assess whether he's a perfect candidate or a probable candidate for law. Is first of all, there is so much of information available on internet. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you are a student in class 11th and if you want to visualize what the life of a lawyer is,
Mm-hmm.
then there is so much data, like the interview that we are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much content which was not the case when we were, venturing into.
Indeed.
So you could literally YouTube a field. You can just type in corporate law interview. There would be a series of interviews which will crop up. Now, when you watch those interviews, you ask yourself a question. The question is this: whether the guest which is on the interview, whatever he's saying, is it appealing to me? Like, for example, if you're watching an interview of a corporate lawyer, he would list out a certain experience of his as a corporate lawyer. Now, that should give you a fair picture of what a life of a corporate lawyer
It
is,
is. Indeed.
right?
And I believe
Like,
that's a very nice approach to go through this particular thing.
yeah, and so the students who are right now in school, they are really lucky because pandemic has created such an immense useful database online that the decision making is actually quite simpler. You would have a very clear picture.
Mhm.
So interviews ranging from a corporate lawyer to a litigating lawyer to judges,
Mhm.
to someone who is a government advocate,
Mhm.
to someone who is specialized in arbitrator, to in arbitration. I'm sorry, and
Mhm.
someone who is specialized in criminal law. You
Mhm.
have a very good database to make your decisions. Now, so far as my field is concerned, as a litigating advocate in a law firm, I want to make it clear that I have only this limited experience which I can share with students. The few things which the students should keep in mind, that it's a very long term process.
Mhm. Indeed.
Number one, when I say long term process, I mean typically when you're out of a law school,
Mhm.
it will take you minimum 5 years to come to grip as to the intricacies of the profession.
Mhm.
So if you are ready for a long term commitment, that's number one. Number two is if you have a flair for reading,
Mhm.
because as you would appreciate, law is all about reading, understanding, and retaining.
Indeed.
uh, yes. So if you have a flair for reading, and if you can, logically connect to texts, and if you can retain,
Mhm.
that's a killer sort of a combination for anyone to be a lawyer,
True.
right? And last but not the least is your human angle. I would say for a litigating lawyer, the person has to be with a mindset that he's always willing to learn. You cannot, in my view, even of 40 years or 50 years of experience, you cannot say that you've learned the entire spectrum. No,
Indeed.
law is such an evolving field that you have to continuously in the mode of learning. And one more interesting fact which I realized is that in this profession you can learn from anyone, an intern, a court clerk, your senior, your judges, your colleagues, anyone and everyone can teach you. So you have to be really open-minded. And then if you are, satisfied on these parameters, you may take an informed decision to venture into law.
That is indeed there. And sir, I believe that you pointed out one very important point over here, that the quest for learning new things should never really die. Be it like you are of any age, you should always have this quest in you to learn new things. So I think that's one major factor that you've also pointed out, and I think I also agree to that. Now, sir, over here you've mentioned one particular point that after you pass out also, then you need to be into that particular field for a certain number of years, and then maybe you can achieve success. So now, sir, I wanted to ask that what kind of an importance does a college really have onto the career that one makes in this particular field? The importance of college, like for example, like if I would reframe it, are private colleges on the same footing as your national law universities, or is it like the vice versa?
See, as far as the importance of college goes, I think the college would, if a really good college would make initial difference, or maybe say first year or second year.
Mhm,
But after that, I mean, it's totally up to your skills. A
mhm,
person coming from a private college, if he's putting equal number of hours in equal hard work,
mhm,
it is not going to take him long to compete with anyone,
mhm,
right? So college does play a role when you are starting out.
mhm,
But as I said, after a period of maybe 2 years or 3 years, it evens out. And then it all depends on the individual.
mhm,
Like for example, I've seen students who are from private colleges, but who have done so much. I mean, they have utilized their time so effectively. They have written good papers, international publications. They have done excellent internships, and more importantly, when they come to intern with us, the quality that they bring to the table is amazing. I mean, of course, it, as I said, it depends on the individual and the drive that the individual has to excel.
mhm.
So yeah, uh,
So basically,
that's
you are saying over here that the exposure one basically has a major footing to play than the college you've attained your education from. The exposure one has a great is of a greater level.
yeah. So exposure, you are rightly pointing it out. Exposure does play a very important role, because see, a student in NLS Bangalore
Mhm.
could just stay there and do nothing, right?
Indeed.
Or a student anywhere in any private college can, do multiple things.
Mhm,
So exposure is important.
mhm,
You have to be very sort of, as again I said, open minded.
mhm,
uh, keep looking for opportunities. There are ample opportunities. There are interesting courses online. There are virtual internships. There are moot courts online. And
indeed.
pandemic has, made it
Accessible.
so accessible. Yeah.
Mm,
So anyone can now participate in so many things at the same time, like we are doing. Like for us lawyers,
mhm,
we are able to appear across, several high courts.
mhm,
So that is a major change.
mhm,
And anyone who is planning to venture into law should
mhm.
take those changes into consideration while, formulating a strategy.
Okay. Now, sir, over here, I wanted to ask you one major thing. So, like, as you've spoken about that college does play an important role in your initial years. So, sir, what are the factors or how should one decide that which college should they go for? Because this is one question which keeps coming to us every now and then. And since you are working with one of the leading law firms in India, so how should we decide that which college should we go for? What are the major criterias on the basis of which we should select a college?
Yeah. So I think the basic thing remains that you should aim for the best. I mean, you should, when you're preparing, of course, I mean, you have to prepare keeping in mind that you have to go to the top law schools, right? If not, I mean, of course, if not, if you have to sort of choose between college apart from the top ones, then the prime consideration should be the quality of faculty. Very important, because that drives a lot of things. Because faculty which is practical, faculty which can give you practical insights into the profession, or
Mhm,
which can, give you an international perspective on things.
mhm,
So my take on law students is that they should not contain themselves within India. They should take this as competing on an international platform, because very soon the
mhm,
Indian law students would
mhm.
be pitted against international law students.
Indeed.
So the mindset of a law student has to be that globally I have to compete. And for that, faculty plays a very important role. Second, the resources which the college has, like an amazing library,
Mhm,
like an amazing sort of setup internally for students,
mhm,
maybe, tie-ups for exchange programs.
mhm,
All that is important in my view. But at the same time, as I said, Zainab, that these facilities could be there, but it all depends on the student how they take it. And even in absence of these facilities, pandemic has made choices very wide. There is so much online that a student can learn. There are so many interesting courses that are, even if the college is not providing, and they are virtually, most of them are free of cost right
Indeed.
now. So, that's very important shift that the coming batch of students can benefit from. So the idea is to have a very sort of focused research on when you're selecting a college, that even if you are say accepting a college which is not as per your standard, you can still make your tenure as a law student worthwhile with the help of technology.
Okay, okay. And I think that's the best thing to do in this particular pandemic situation when everything is available right at a click away. So please go
Absolutely.
make sure that you are making the best use of this particular opportunity. Now, sir,
Absolutely.
over here, I have one another question that I have in my mind. So, sir, how should one select the subjects? Like, for example, now there are various courses which are available: BA LLB honors, BB LLB honors, BCom LLB honors. So now how should one decide that which subject one should attain? And the subject that one chooses, is that particular subject going to have an impact onto the career graph that he or she is going to have in the future?
Yeah, so no, that's a very interesting question. See, the choice of subject depends on what you want to do in future.
Mhm,
Although, if you see from a broad spectrum, the
mhm,
subjects are more or less same, barring a few initial subjects in the basic stream of BA versus BBA, maybe,
mhm.
right? So
Yes.
there, if I personally feel that
Mhm,
subjects which are more inclined towards arts,
mhm,
towards polity, towards political science, towards sociology,
mhm,
are very helpful in your overall understanding of law,
mhm,
because we don't realize it back then in college that why are these subjects important.
mhm,
But gradually, when you enter the profession and
mhm,
when you want to become part of a larger debate,
mhm,
understanding of these subjects is crucial. For
mhm,
example, jurisprudence.
mhm,
Jurisprudence is the soul of law,
mhm.
right? It does tell you how has law evolved, what were
Evolve.
the different kind of theories, etc.
Hmm.
So depending on, so like for example, if you want to become a corporate lawyer,
Hmm.
maybe a BBA LLB would make more sense.
Hmm.
But if you want to become a litigating lawyer,
Hmm.
maybe a BA LLB will make more sense. So it depends on what is your end goal, right?
Hmm. Indeed.
So that is how someone can make a choice on what subjects they want.
And in case if that factor is not clear with us from the very beginning, that if we want to go into corporate field or if we want to go into the litigating field, then how should one decide in that particular scenario? If we
See,
aren't.
then,
Mhm,
yeah, so then it's slightly, it's a slight gamble in my view,
mhm,
because then whatever you choose,
mhm,
I mean, there is no option of, coming back and, starting again.
mhm.
So you have to have some minimum clarity. I'm not
Okay.
saying that you be, and it is not that BALLB is not going to help you become a corporate lawyer.
Mhm.
It is not completely, meaningless for a corporate lawyer.
Indeed. Mhm,
So then whatever you choose, stick to it. Don't get confused.
mhm.
Having made a choice between a stream, then you give your 100%. Then there's no point of thinking whether I would have chosen this, then what would have happened.
Mhm,
It's a useless exercise. Then whatever you've chosen, give it your 100%. And I can say it with guarantee that whatever you study
mhm.
is going to help you in one way or the another if you've studied it well.
Indeed, sir, indeed. So now, sir, over here, one major point that I wanted to ask you. So, like in case of a possibility where we are talking about a person is not having a clarity that in which aspect should he go? Should he go in for litigation? Should he go in for corporate lawyer? In this particular scenario, how should one understand that what is their calling or what is an area of their interest? How should one help themselves in such a scenario?
Yeah, so I can only guide students with respect to my experience, which is as a litigating lawyer, that too in a law firm. That's a very specific area versus a hardcore litigating lawyer,
Indeed,
because the
indeed.
skill sets required for a litigating lawyer within a setup of a law firm are slightly different
Hmm.
from a skill set which is required for a hardcore litigation lawyer.
Hmm.
Now, insofar as litigating within a law firm is concerned,
Hmm.
uh, the skill sets that may come handy to you
Hmm.
is, of course, drafting skills,
Perfect.
right? You have to be very good at drafting because uh, it is expected that your drafts will be very readable. And when I say drafting skills, it does not mean just plain English. It means a thought process behind it. It means that you have to uh, train yourself in presenting something in a very crisp, narrative, readable manner, right? So your as any draft has an audience for it. Like for example, if you're making a note for a senior counsel, you have to keep in mind your audience, which is the senior counsel. The note should help the senior counsel. But on the other hand, if you are drafting a plaint to be filed in a court, that has to be drafted from a different mindset because the audience is the court. So drafting skills is one. Second is communication within the firm and outside your setup. You have, because there's so much of time crunch, right? So when you're talking to someone, you should have thought your ideas well in advance. You cannot, think when you're speaking to someone because the time is so limited. You have to give him relevant things. So just by way of an example, what I used to do as a junior, which I've learned over a period of years and try to improvise it, that I would start from the very beginning. For example, if I want to update my senior with respect to a particular hearing, I would start from, say, sir, I went to this court, this is what had happened, the other side was saying this, the best way to, probably the better way to go about is to end with the conclusion. Sir, this is what the judges held. Now if your seniors is interested to know the entire process, then only you take his time. Otherwise, most of the time he may be interested in the outcome.
Indeed.
You tell me what happened, what did the judge say, what is the actionable thing. So you have to mold your thinking. And one more example I would like to share with students is that the mistake which I used to do as a junior is I would not identify parties while I was explaining something to another person. For example, if there are multiple parties, if there are four parties, so I would start by saying that he did that, and then his subsidiary took this objection. Always have names to the parties. It makes the life easier. For example, if there are four parties, identify them by saying A, B, C, D. A did this, B did this, C objected to this, and D did this. Rather than say he did this, who did this. So it's a confusing state of
Clarity of thought.
clarity of thoughts, and it comes with practice.
Indeed.
So these and last thing which is very handy when someone is planning to become a litigating lawyer in a law firm uh, is your document management.
Okay.
Very important because uh, typically these cases which we handle are volume cases, and at times one application is missing or one document retrieval becomes difficult because every date which happens in a court results into an order, right? So if you maintain a proper folder for your orders, if you maintain a proper folder for your pleadings, and if you have your notes ready, so it becomes easier for you to recall as to what happened on the last date, and it helps you to formulate your strategy for the next day. So a student, when he's in college, he can practice this. He can practice this by managing his projects. For example, you do projects in your colleges, right? We all did. So the research work, if neatly compacted into a folder, will help you later on. For example, if you have your all projects with your research, it will help you in your LLM applications, right? Because then you will be able to justify your sources for the project. So I'm saying that organization is very important.
That is true. That is true. Considering the paperwork, the huge amount of paperwork which is there, one needs to be a lot organized to basically have things going. Now, sir,
Absolutely.
over here, one major thing that I wanted to know over here, that how different is the courtroom life from the life that we've seen in movies. Like, for example, the life that we've seen in movies with respect to the Tariq pe Tariq thing, or like the Harvey Specter in Suits, or something like that. How different is that, or similar is that from the real life courtroom experience?
So I would say it's substantially different.
Mhm,
Courtroom is substantially different from what we see in movies because they don't show the actual effort
huh,
that goes into before stepping into court.
mhm,
Like for example, if you're going to a court,
mhm,
not only you have to be clear on your pleadings, not
mhm,
only you have to brief your senior counsels or an external counsel, or if you're yourself arguing, prepare everything,
mhm,
but you have to ensure that all the procedural aspects
mhm,
are also taken care of. For example, you have to ensure that whatever you're relying on
mhm,
is with the other party. So
mhm.
they should not say that I was not aware whether he's going to rely on this judgment, and that could result into an adjournment,
Indeed.
and that adjournment will cost your client money, will
Mhm,
cost you time, and then it becomes difficult to basically justify as to how did you miss this.
mhm.
So you have to be very clear on the process, which is not shown in in any of these movies.
True, true.
And also the softer aspect of dealing with registry, for example, of any court,
Mhm,
where the process of filing,
mhm,
you know the process of how to get the files moved.
mhm,
It's not taught anywhere.
mhm, mhm.
And even in our sort of law schools, it's not taught, the
Huh.
entire process. So it's very, very different in that sense, because a lot goes into a matter before it is placed before the judge.
Mhm,
It is making notes, making compilation of judgments, drafting pleadings,
mhm,
finally proofreading, filing, getting
mhm.
matter listed. So all that is the practical aspect
Okay,
of the
okay, okay.
matters.
Now, sir, this question now, which I'm going to ask, is a lot unrelated, but these are two terms that I keep hearing every now and then. That is, one is some people call any person who's practicing law as a lawyer, and some people call him or her as an advocate. Now, this question is a bit unrelated to my previous question, but this is one question that keeps haunting me, and I'm pretty sure which keeps haunting many other individuals as well. So, what is the fine line of difference between the two, that who is a lawyer and who is an advocate?
No, so these terms are used interchangeably. Under the Advocates Act, there are only two categories of advocate. One is an advocate and a senior advocate.
Mhm,
So the phrase, the term which is legally recognized is advocate.
mhm,
If you talk about the Advocates Act,
mhm,
but lawyer, of course, is another synonym for advocate.
mhm,
So there is no sort of, and it's used very interchangeably. So from a legal perspective, a lawyer is an advocate if registered under the Advocates Act. He becomes an advocate. And once the advocate is designated as a senior advocate, which designation happens through court, then the person becomes senior advocate. And then there are different set of rules which apply to an advocate and to a senior advocate. For
mhm,
example, a senior advocate cannot directly accept brief from clients. It
mhm.
has to be through another advocate.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how you become senior advocate. And senior advocate, physically, there is also one difference, that the gown which is worn by an advocate is different from
From
what
that of a
is
senior
worn by
advocate.
a senior advocate.
So,
So
sir, over
that's
here,
like.
I wanted to ask one more thing. So, the practice of procuring a sanad from the court and XYZ, and then you have your bar exam and all of that. So, is that also a differentiating factor between a lawyer and an advocate, or is it just as a matter of practice that you do that?
No, it is. It does not. So it's more to do with the language, nothing to do with the legal aspect of it. As I said, that legally speaking, it's only advocate and senior advocates. The bar council makes you write this exam, and once you pass that exam, you get your sanad, you get your license to practice as an advocate. And once you get that, then you can appear in any court across India. So once you can appear anywhere. Although in Supreme Court, of course, there is a requirement that if you want to file something,
Mhm,
only advocate on records can file it.
mhm,
So there is an examination for that which Supreme Court conducts.
mhm,
I think it's after five years of practice that you
mhm,
become eligible,
mhm,
and then the filing can only be done through AORs in Supreme Court.
mhm.
So broadly, this is
The
how
difference.
it is structured. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Perfect. Now, sir, I believe that the experiences that you've shared with us and the doubts that you've cleared with all of us are going to really benefit all of us. I would just want to ask you that what is your message to all the CLAT aspirants who are going to appear in the upcoming years and even this year? So, what is your message to them, your parting message to them?
Yeah, so my message to them is work hard. Law is a very interesting field. I can speak it for from the point of view of litigating lawyers. You learn from the best of minds in the industry. For example, if you're doing a case with respect to a particular sector, for example, mining, or for example, say technology, then you meet the best in the market who basically share their vision of business, because law and business are connected, right? Because you have to keep in mind the business interest of the clients while practicing law. So it is a very, very interesting field. You will not get bored. At the same time, it is a very demanding field. As I said, first of all, it takes you a minimum year to come to terms with the basics. So you need to have that perseverance in mind. But once you are there, you start enjoying the profession, because it's very dynamic. You learn so much every day. So for any student who is willing to, or who is looking to enter into law, I would say that keep working on your skills. It's a very long term game. So even if you, for example, when you're starting, and if you say you think you are not a very good orator,
Mhm.
5 years in law schools will give you ample opportunities
Indeed.
to convert any skill. For example, you think you're not good in drafting,
Mm.
you can excel in those 5 years in any of the skills, because 5 years is such a long time that if you really focus on, say, 2 3 skills, for example, speaking, drafting, or networking, you can achieve all of that within the span of 5 years. So once you enter into a law school, my humble request is to make the best out of your time at law school, because all your colleagues, all the resources, the time that you have is not never going to come back when you join the profession.
That is
So
indeed.
that's my message to all the students who are preparing for
Okay,
that.
sir. So, sir, now I have another question for you, and that is with respect to that litigating in a law firm. How different is litigating in a law firm from the what you litigate in independent practice? How different are these two things?
So Zainab, it's quite a different area when you litigate individually as a practitioner, or even when you work with a senior counsel, versus when you litigate in a law firm. So essentially, when you are working with a lawyer, or when you are independent, you have a fair amount of time to be spent in courts, right? You will be expected to attend court, and the first half, or maybe the majority part of your day, will end up in court. When you come back from the court, you will start drafting, you will start preparing for the matters next day. And depending on what your role is, so like for example, if you yourself are arguing or you are briefing someone, so
Mhm.
you'll have to strategize your day according to that.
Mhm.
You have to prepare notes for a senior counsel, right? So it is more court oriented, less drafting oriented. Whereas if you come to a law firm, it is more drafting oriented. The main task of a law firm or litigation in a law firm is to churn out high quality drafts. So is to first of all read all the documents, churn out high quality drafts, and then so that it is ripe for the filing. And the second step is court, right? But there are a few law firms like Khaitan and Company which encourages juniors themselves to also appear. So if there is a low stake matter where the client is confident that you will be able to sort of protect their interest, then apart from drafting, you can also yourself appear, and that is an added advantage, which some law firms are able to provide to their associates or senior associates. So
Okay.
that's the major difference. That's the major difference. So also in a law firm, you are expected to brief senior counsels. Now, each senior counsel may have different requirement or a different style of how they want to be briefed. For example, some senior counsels, they want a detailed sort of a note. Other ones a small short note. So you have to get used to the fact that different councils have different requirements, and you have to manage to match their expectations.
That is indeed there. Now, sir, over here, one major question that I have, that in a law firm, there are various roles, like right starting from an intern to an associate, then a senior associate, principal associate, partner level. What is the skill set that is required at each level, and what can we do to hone our skills onto each level?
Yeah, no, so that's a very interesting question.
Mhm.
And since my journey has been pretty linear in that sense that I started as an intern and recently I became a partner. So I have sort of experienced these
All
roles.
these levels. Mhm.
Yeah. So initially, when you start, for
Mhm.
example, if you are starting as an intern,
Mhm.
uh, the skill set which comes in very handy are two. One is your research,
Okay.
and second is your presentation.
Okay.
So if you're very good with research, you are making your life of your senior pretty easy, right? If he's getting to, and research also is not simple research. So we get multiple kinds of interns, right? So for example, recently there was an intern who would not only just send us judgments,
Mhm.
but she would actually highlight the important uh,
Parts of the judgment.
areas of judgment, which shows that number one, she has read the entire judgment.
True.
So an intern who is reading an entire judgment
Mhm.
will give you that confidence, that she is serious about it.
Indeed. Mhm.
And apart from judgment, she would always, attach a note
Ah.
of her understanding of the judgment. So there are two kinds of sort of interns. One which will just send you the judgments without any context,
Mhm.
and the others are who would, meticulously go through judgment, say what they think about the judgment.
Mhm.
So these two skills,
Mhm.
your research and presentation. When you enter as an associate,
Mhm.
these two skills will come in handy. Research, presentation. What is added is your management,
Mhm.
right? That if you are assigned a case as a junior,
Mhm.
you have to own it up. You have to know that where are the files, what is to be done, what are the next steps, are we missing anything, have we filed the court fee,
Mhm.
is there any document which is dim, which is to be typed. So you have to own and start behaving like you are yourself going to handle it end to end.
Indeed. Mhm.
And now, when you graduate from associate to senior associate,
Mhm.
that means there are your junior associates who are looking to you for guidance.
Huh.
So, in addition to research, presentation, management, you have to start mentoring.
Okay. Mhm.
Whatever you've learned in these 3 years, then
Mhm.
you have to teach your juniors so that they also learn and they should not face any hurt.
Mhm.
So this is senior associate. Senior associate means more management,
Mhm.
more work, and more execution. When you graduate to principal associate in a law firm, I feel principal associates are the main engine of law firms
Indeed. Mhm.
because they have experience. They have the capability to use their experience and produce better results in less time.
Huh.
They are actually the main engines of a law firm. So you have to behave like an engine.
Mhm.
That if something is put on your shoulders,
Mhm.
you have to ensure that you carry it till the end,
Mhm.
right? And when you graduate from a principal associate
A
to
partner
partner,
level. Mhm.
then all these skills plus two important skills is time management
Uh-huh.
and your networking.
Ah. Ji.
Now, Zainab, what is interesting is that a student who is entering a law school,
Mhm.
he or she can start from skills which are required to be at partner level from college,
Indeed. That is something I also agree with. Mhm.
right? So,
Mhm.
for example, you should not wait to create your network while you are a partner after 10 years.
Ah.
You should start networking from day one you are entering the college.
Mhm.
And from networking, I'm not saying that in college, networking is building strong friendships,
Ji.
and which eventually will culminate into your practice sources,
Mhm.
because half of your batchmates
Mhm.
will go in-house.
Mhm.
Half of your batchmates will join a senior council.
Mhm.
Half of your batchmates will join PSU.
Mhm.
Some of them will sort of go independent.
Huh.
If you are friends with ample number of people in your college life,
Mhm.
have strong friendship,
Mhm.
that will help you go forward in any profession. For example, in the sense, if you even want to do independent practice or want to join a senior council, your friends are going to be there for you to help you. So I'm saying that skill set required at each stage
Mhm.
can be, should be rather, started from the reverse order in the first year of college.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now,
Networking,
mhm.
sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, no, sir. I just wanted to ask that you stressed upon the first bit that we should hone our research skills. So, sir, what we as students can do to hone those particular research skill of ours?
See, research skills, one, first of all, research uh, improves as you keep on researching. For example, if you're researching on a particular topic, right, and if you've read, say, for example, five two judgments, one article, and few other stuff, you
Mhm.
will get to know the catchwords,
Huh.
right?
Mm.
And then it will be in your mind that if you're looking for a particular judgment, these are the words that judges typically use. So first of all, that those catchwords will help you filter down to very relevant judgments.
Mhm.
Now that is coming to the material. Now the second part is to analyze that material,
Mm.
right? So law, as you would know, is very intermingled,
Mm.
right? A motor vehicle act would have some genesis in the social structure of the society,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? A constitutional provision
Mhm.
would have a history of debate behind it.
Indeed. Mhm.
So research is to understand the origin. In my view, if you are looking for a case law on a particular uh, clause, for example, if you're looking for a particular section of a contract act, what I would try to do is to understand the origin of that clause itself.
Okay. Mhm.
Why was that clause inserted into contract act?
Mhm.
What is the mischief that it is trying to solve?
Mm.
So that is how I would approach it. Take a step back. What people or what students tend to often do is quickly research the judgments, highlight the relevant portion. That is also sometimes in urgency is helpful. But when you have time, then
Mhm.
you should start from the source.
Indeed. Mhm. That's a really amazing approach, I would say. And to all our listeners who are listening to this particular interview, I think they all would really benefit because I believe Sir has told you each and every bit as to how you can progress, right from choosing your subjects to choosing your college, and then eventually when you graduate, that what are those skills that you need to develop in your 5 years of law schools. And I believe that this is a really interesting session. We've got to learn so much, Sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time. We couldn't have had a better person than you to let us know the intricacies involved at each and every step. Thank
No,
you, sir.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Although I would like to caveat at the end that my experience is only limited to my experience. There is so much to learn from others,
Indeed.
and students should, in fact, take a broader sort of view of things.
Mhm.
And of course, whatever help this talk can have with respect to their choices,
Mhm.
that will be great. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Have a great
Thanks.
day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.